It's about time.
Hello, my name is William Kumwembe and this is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. And in the program today, we look at Malawi's positioning to make the most of the existing market under the African Continental Free Trade Area amid concerns that there is still a widening gap in as far as trade is concerned in favor of imports. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could.
Excuse me, madam. Stop billing. I'm taking back all these goods to the shelves.
What's wrong, sir?
Never mind. I have just changed my mind.
Excuse me. I just noticed you returned all the goods you meant to buy. What went wrong?
Some of these products are not originally made here in Malawi.
But these goods have a logo to authenticate them. And we manufacture them ourselves.
Then it means you're not registered with Buy Malawi strategy. This logo here with a tick is not correct.
How?
All products and services registered with Buy Malawi strategy have an original logo approved by government through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism that really authenticates your product as a Malawian product. Now, once you register, your product and service will be recognized as Malawian. Look, we must buy Malawi to build Malawi. You can find out more from Buy Malawi Secretariat or call them on 01 770 244 0993 707 729 or 0999 528 510. You can also simply email info@buymalawi.mw.
Buy Malawi, tukondeni kunyadira za Malawi. Tikamagula.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, and in our main story in the program today, Malawi is among countries within the continent earmarked to make the most of the forthcoming intra-Africa trade fair, which is scheduled to take place at the end of the year in South Africa. The fair is earmarked to offer opportunities in as far as trade deals is concerned among African countries, with deals worth $40 billion expected to be stricken. Now, how is Malawi systematically positioned to tap into the existing opportunity? This is a question our journalist Yamigan Kajaji attempted in this report.
The exhibition is expected to take place in South Africa and will target players from sectors such as agriculture and agro-processing, consumer goods and finance. Afreximbank Southern Africa Regional Chief Operating Officer Humphrey Nguo says this is a trade and investment opportunity for Malawi.
As a bank, we realize that part of the challenges to intra-African trade is the fact that people do not know what they can buy from other countries within the continent. So we thought that this is a good initiative, a good avenue for countries to congregate together to identify what others can sell that they need and they can buy, and what they themselves can sell to other countries. So that is what the whole idea is. It's going to be an exhibition, that will be investment forum, government to government meetings, business to government, business to business. So it's something that brings together essentially key decision makers in Africa in a particular environment or in a certain environment where others can take advantage of.
Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor Wilson Banda adds that the country needs to utilize these meetings to enhance its development.
We are, as a country, looking at developing trade. I think that's the main thing that is captured in our Vision 2063. We want this country growth to be export-led, and this conference, this meeting, is essentially targeting that type of issue. We're addressing the issue of trade, and we're saying that with the support of institutions such as Afreximbank, Malawi is going to join the international and regional communities to develop trade. So we expect that as a country we're going to benefit. We have always said this as government that for us to be competitive, we need not only produce the quantities, but we have to have the quality. And to have the quality, we need to invest in so many things. Our industries have to invest in innovation. They have to invest in technology. They have to invest on issues that would improve the quality of our products. So we need to have quality products, not only in the quantities, but we need to have quality as well, quality that is going to compete regionally and internationally.
Minister of Trade Sosten Gwengwe has challenged potential exhibitors to effectively perform in order to enhance trade in the region.
Basically, one of the key challenges as far as trade and investment is concerned is financing, because we have a lot of our private sector who really want to do more in export trade. They want to do more in investment, but the financing is almost always a challenge. And we are happy that the Afrexim Bank has already shown a lot of commitments and are already doing a lot for Malawi private sector. And today, they just reaffirmed that commitment that they will work with our private sector as far as financing of exports and financing of investments is concerned. Direct benefits of Malawi is the increase in trade volumes. Like I can give you an example of the deal with South Sudan. There's sugar that is being uplifted from here in Malawi going to South Sudan, and there's a lot of maize flour that is also being uplifted from here to South Sudan. All that is good for this country because we are increasing our exports and we are getting a lot of forex from such kind of deals. I'm really very happy with our private sector that they are not really showing any sign of fatigue, because we've taken them left and right. Like we said, some have already sent exhibits to China for the expo that is happening next week. Then there's the Dubai Expo happening next month. Then there's the one we are talking about today, the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which will be held again in November in South Africa. So our private sector really is participating in all of them and giving a strong show in all these exhibitions.
The Intra-African Trade Fair will provide a platform for businesses to access an integrated African market of over 1.2 billion people, with a GDP of over $2.5 trillion, created under the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Now, despite the readily available market, Malawi is failing to meet the export demand for most of the commodities it produces, especially from the agriculture sector. For instance, Malawi is grappling to meet a 20,000 tons monthly target to export maize flour to South Sudan, following a recent deal the country made with the South Sudan counterpart. What does this mean? This is a question our journalist Chimwemi Wangazi attempts in this report.
While confirming the development, President of the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, James Chimwaza, says currently the country has capacity to produce only 6,000 tons a month. He says this is an example that shows that players in the industry lacks competitiveness and necessary information to embrace and start trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Small and Medium Enterprise Chamber Executive Director James Chiutsi says there are a number of factors that have affected the private sector's involvement in regional trade.
Malawi is actually part of the international community. So things like the African, this initiative that we're talking about, the free trade area, this we cannot do without. So our enterprises must simply work towards making sure that they comply. But you see, the problem is that implementation has not been the way that we, especially in the SME sector, felt it would be. There's been not much publicity. We thought there would be massive publicity, considering that this is a new thing. So we think that government or the Ministry of Trade or the government agencies that are involved in this do need to ratchet up their publicity. There are things like, for example, international standards that are supposed to be met. Not many of the SMEs that we have, even some sizable business enterprises in the country, do not fully understand these standards. So therefore, it's very difficult for them to participate or fully take advantage of this free trade area. Coupled with that, there are issues of taxation. Also, MRA has not done much to engage us or to engage the SME sector or the private sector for us to understand fully what the implications of taxation. Also, we are in a country that fully is not exporting that much. We are a net importer of goods and services. That is also a fact, because when you are involved in international trade, you must be prepared to push volumes into the market. But the volumes that we have in the country at the moment makes it very difficult for us to be fully competitive. Of course, as an SME organization, we've been working with our members, civic educating them that such an initiative requires concerted effort, but as one small enterprise cannot fully participate in the international space. To make it worse, now we're talking of the COVID restrictions. The borders are not as free as they have always been. Also, there are other costs now connected with the COVID. For example, we're talking of all the COVID tests. If you're going out now to do international trade or on international duty, you have to go through the testing. You're supposed to pay. You are back 3 days. You want to go out again. You also are paying to get tested, and so on and so forth. Also, all these factors have made it very difficult for us, especially as SMEs or the business community, to appreciate this Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
However, Ministry of Trade spokesperson Maisom Sogera says all players can now export under the agreement by declaring their exports with the Malawi Revenue Authority.
There is what we call a certificate of origin, which actually certifies that this product is originating from Malawi, and this can be obtained from the Malawi Revenue Authority. This is what is critical, because it's a document that is going to be used by other member states to ascertain that the product is coming from Malawi, and they must not really subject it to high tariffs. So it is also important, other than that, to look at the regulations that we have. For instance, in Malawi, we have what we call the Control of Goods Act. So the Control of Goods Act lists products that requires licenses before they are exported or imported. So it is important also to make reference to that particular important document.
The AFCFTA will bring together all 55 member states of the African Union, covering a market of more than 1.2 billion people, including a growing middle class and a combined gross domestic product of more than $3.4 trillion.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. We'll be right back.
Tiguleza tu
Zinenenji Aso munalimo muno ya ndimadza kulya ruzina ndizina amwali Mande mwashopata Sugar apo tukona nkaka Umatuma sambati nje mulibe uno Ala mwakuru samwali wa masamba Ndakalaso ngati amwali Komasoto ino mupasikira nyonse yango dzadza ndi made in Malawi yoka tamakani moyo tsogola pogula zinthu zakunja maganizo amene uli ndobwezera chitukuko cha dziko lino mbuyo kugula zinthu zopangidwa kwathu konkuno kumathandiza kukweza ntchito za makampani a dziko muno zomwezo zimapereka mwayi wa ntchito kwa anthu ambiri ogwira ntchito akachuluka dziko lathu limatolera misonkho yochuluka chumanso chimakwera ngagula katundu wakunja mumangolemeretsa mayiko akunjawo ife sitipindula kanthu kani tikuuzani ipo ndendamvetsatu ndikire pompa nene ndikagule zinthu zathu za chimalawi sindichedwa tigule zathu tikule dziko lathu ndidikire sindichedwa
dziko lathu bai Malawi kondeni kunyadira za chimalawi tikamagula za kunja.
Welcome back to to Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. Today, we are focusing on Malawi's positioning in as far as making the most of the existing market under the African Continental Free Trade Area is concerned. And Malawi is an agrarian economy, with 80% of the population heavily relying on the sector. Several crops like tobacco have remained Malawi's key export crops, but other crops seem to be gradually trailing behind tobacco and other main export crops. Pigeon peas is one of such. We look at how Malawi is trying to make the most of the available market of pigeon peas in the continent.
Ministry of Trade spokesperson Maesom Sokera says the development indicates that the country has the volumes and capacity to meet the demand. Agricultural expert Felix Lombe adds that this trend signifies Malawi's need to explore more markets and capitalize on value addition.
Apart from exporting our pigeon pea raw as it is, we also need to consider some sort of value addition, processing it into dal. The Indian community and the other, population in Asia would always want to consume it in a processed form, dal. But beyond consuming it in a processed form, it is also important that as a country we look domestically and consider adding value, especially making pigeon peas to be a form of animal feed. There are trials that have been made, and so far they confirm that it is indeed possible to come up with poultry feed from pigeon peas, but at the same time to come with the fish feed if we are to expand our source of animal feed, because for fish feed we actually have to import. And the same with even poultry. Some of the poultry feed is in Malawi is imported because we are only looking at soya and partly maize. But if we have that formula of processing it into some animal feed, especially poultry and fish, then as a country we should be able to produce more of fish and poultry. You may want to know that one of the determining factor when it comes to increased production but also productivity is the satisfaction on the part of farmers with the prevailing price or even the price for the previous year. Since 2021 has been a bit exciting on the part of farmers, we expect more to be grown by the farmers. So the outlook is very positive. You may also want to know that one of the success factors when it comes to pigeon peas is the introduction of high-yielding varieties. High-yielding varieties, but also early maturing varieties. Because ordinarily pigeon peas has to take between 6 months and 9 months, which is too long. But what we see now is actually the introduction of varieties that are highly yielding, but at the same time they are able to to mature as early as less than 6 months, sometimes even less than 5 months.
According to the Malawi Investment and Trade Center, Malawi is one of the major producers of pigeon peas in Africa, along with countries such as Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Now, cost of transportation seems to be one of the major hindrances for growth in the local industry. Malawi heavily relies on the road network, but to ease the pressure, one of the country's logistics firms, Nakala, has since been working on a project to revamp the railway system so that Malawi should migrate to equally rely on the railway system as a mode of transport. The firm has also introduced some new locomotives to help in the facilitation of movement of goods from one place to another. On Tuesday, the company unveiled the new locomotives, and our journalist Gary Samati was there and has since filed this report.
The road transport system in Malawi was vibrant until the late 90s, when trucks became a favorable means of moving goods across the country despite its cost implications. The years that followed saw the rail sector shrinking heavily, with some sections of the rail lines either washed away or vandalized by communities. However, in recent years, the government and other private players have expressed interest to restore the lost glory of the road transport sector. One of such companies is Nakala Logistics. Gustavo Stein is its director.
Those locomotives are called as Dash 9. These Dash 9s, they are really newer than the previous ones we had. They are like 5 years old, and they are much stronger and reliable than the previous locomotives we had. It means that we could bring with the Dash 9s much more cargo than before. It means that we can reduce the cost of the goods that we're bringing. Also, we will be faster than before. The cycle of the wagons will reduce a lot. It means that we can use the same quantity of wagons we have and bring more cargo within these same wagons. So the investments should be less than we need to bring more cargo with the locomotives we had before. With the previous locomotives, we were able to bring every month at least 6,000 tons. With these new locomotives, our target is to improve to 8,000 tons per month. But also, we can bring more cargo with less trains. It means that we need to run less trains than before to bring the same quantity of cargo, but bring more. Our idea is to increase at least 50% the operations, you see, on the near future, and our intention is to be able to bring at least 100,000 tons per month. Our first phase, or first project, is to bring just cargo from Nacala, as the government of Malawi, they are rehabilitating the line at the Sena line. So as of now, we have no plan yet to start to bring cargo from Sena. That's why we are improving the capacity to bring from Nacala. That's cheaper even from Beira at this particular time. In terms of costs, we can't talk about costs here for each client, but our expectation is to reduce at least 20% of the cost of the goods that we're bringing with these new facilities. On the past, we took at least 10 days to bring some wagons from Nacala to Limbe. And now our intention is to reduce this transit time at least to 2 to 5 days, depending on the cargo. So that's what I was talking about, the cycle of the wagons. We will be able to reduce a lot the cycle of the wagons. And the cycle of the wagons are the time that the wagons depart from Nacala loaded and come back to Nacala empty. So the intention is to reduce this cycle to at least 6 days. Then before it was 12.
Logistics expert Kao Jokoto, who is also Chief Executive Officer for Fortress Business and Logistics Consult, says such developments will spur competition and reduce transport costs in the process.
The rail transport sector is very important for the country, especially also when you consider bulk goods and heavy cargo. It is one of the most cost-effective ways of transportation as opposed to most of the other modes of transport. So that doesn't dispute the importance of the other modes of transport, but definitely it is much more cost-effective. Look, in terms of investment, there has been a lot of investment in the rail sector, both at the port, but also in terms of the infrastructure. And I think efforts continue to be, investments continue in that vein. In terms of the production side, so the supply side, we have seen also an increase in production for some heavy cargo for exports. For example, we've seen a lot of soya being produced and exported out of the country. Volumes of sugar there as well. So, in terms of the bulk cargo, in terms of the heavy cargo, the rail sector is ready for movement.
In 2017, Malawi adopted a National Transport Master Plan to be implemented within a 20-year period, which provides a clear framework for delivering sustainable interventions to enhance the transport sector across Malawi. It indicates that to successfully implement the plan, the country would need in excess of $9.15 billion.
Well, on that note, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time. It's a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.